Up campus, the Gen Campus meeting. We're just going to, if we can, ask you to retire the conversations out into our very comfortable quarters outside the room. Thank you. So if you're not here for Gen Campus, thank you. I'm going to get everybody seated down. Before we get going, I'm going to take executive privilege. This session is going to be run by the awesome, wonderful Fran Lazzoni, who's going to be taking over in a minute. But before we get started, especially since my dear friend Ahmed from Tatweer has come all the way in just for today, I want to stand here and just say how excited we are that you're here. We're very thrilled to be doing this. Could we maybe close those doors, William? That'd be great. There's 3 new things that we're doing at Gen this year, and there's 3 of these sessions that are really important to me and are really important to Gen Global. And this we think is one of the most dynamic and exciting things happening. So thank you so much indeed for letting me do this. I do just want to mention that the great connection of what we're doing today in the GC is that we believe that out of every event that we do, there needs to be one really big, bold idea that we deliver on. And in South Africa, the big deliverable that we did was the creation of 22 on Sloan. And sitting in front of us is the entrepreneur, the risk taker, the guy that did it all, Gazito, without whom we wouldn't be having any attention to this topic. So for us, what Gen Campus is extremely important, and the prospect of being able to create density, connectivity in places where it's needed in order to help entrepreneurs thrive. Before I turn it over, though, I did want to once again thank Tatweer for your partnership in our effort, but also to emphasize that the broader mission here is to do something for the world and to figure out how to make this work. And you should know that this particular mission in Egypt and outside of Egypt has the full support and backing of everyone at Gen Global. It'll be very much front of mind for us. It's something that's extremely important that we encourage all of the Gen community to get involved. So thank you very much. And without further ado, I'll turn you over to the interesting part, Fran. Thank you.
Okay, let's get started. My name, as Jonathan just mentioned, is Frances Lanzone, and I am so privileged to be up here to introduce you to some incredible experts that are reimagining the way that education at the higher level is being done, not just here in Bahrain or in the United States, but all across the world, and particularly in one of the most fascinating continents, Africa. We're going to have a macro discussion about this topic and then dive deeply into some of the more exciting projects that are happening in our very own backyards. I am very grateful to be here, especially because it's actually my birthday. And this year, there was a lot more people that came to the party than last year. So I think I'm doing a lot better than prior year's celebration. But without further ado, I do want to get our experts up on the stage so we can start hearing from them and diving into this topic. I see a lot of young faces in the room, and I know you were just recently in university. And I want to say, before we get started on all of these topics, the university and higher education topic is sometimes a little exclusive. And I want to let you know that even in the United States, this is a topic that we're constantly thinking about, how to get young people to continue their education and to continue at the level of a university or a college. And to do that, we have to show that there is a return, because college is expensive, especially in the United States and places around the world where the premier universities are hosting students. So if we can innovate around what the service that a higher education institute provides, we can help students connect to their academic potential, but more importantly, to their purpose and to their professional potential. So without further ado, I want to bring up our panel, and we do have a really dynamic presentation here today that I am hoping my tech team can put up on the screen so I can introduce the panel. But in the meantime, while we get that going, I'm going to go ahead and start. First, Dr. Shalaby, Dr. Ahmed Shalaby from Tatweer in Egypt. Thank you for joining us. Wonderful. Ahmed Osmand from the Gen Egypt team, please join us. And Kizito, I know definitely how to say your first name, but if I'm going to botch it, I'm going to do my best to say he is the most delightful person to be on the phone with, and I've met him in person just today, but I have spoken to him at length about his experiment in Egypt, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about what he has to say today. But this session is not just about hearing from experts, it's also about hearing from you. So I am blessed because I get to learn from every single person in the room. We're first going to talk about a question that is near and dear to my heart, and it's also the prompt for our first design thinking exercise. And that question is how I'm going to introduce the panel and give them an opportunity to tell us a little bit more about their experience and why they were driven to this conversation about innovating universities. So first and foremost, I'm going to start with Kizito, and I'm going to say, Kizito, you are today representing a professional person that has many experiences that have come to your disposal. What was it while you were a university student? What were you missing on your college campus that could have accelerated your path to becoming Kizito today? So give us a little background about who you are, what you're working on, and then take us back in time and let us know who that person was on college campus and what drove you? What were you passionate about?
Thank you very much, Frances, and to my fellow panelists, thank you. So my name is Kizito, and I ran 22 on Sloan Startup Campus. My history was running a company called Sea Africa, which I started. It's a research and development company. So, and the initiative came during the GEC. I think, you know, Jonathan always says that I'm the catalyst, but I wasn't. I think the GEC was. The GEC that came to Johannesburg really prompted us to think of how do we think of sustainability? How do we think of better ways to support startups in South Africa? And that was the main catalyst for this. But I mean, my time at university, I didn't get time to live in campus. So maybe I was in and out of university a few times. So I'm not sure if I'm the right person to answer that. But I guess my time there, I think there were a few things that could have prompted, that could have made my experience different. The first one was avoiding the too much theoretical aspects of what we are doing in school. Because I can tell you a lot of the things that we did in school are not relevant to me now. And a lot of the things I learned when I got into business and when I traveled and met people and when I networked with like and unlike-minded people, you know. So I think one thing I would say is the theoretical aspect. I think our universities need to get more practical and teach things that will really help you survive. And for me, I learned it on the streets and in a business environment, which is good. But I also think our universities they're a very important platform. My MBA thesis focused on the contribution of higher education in igniting entrepreneurship. So there is that correlation between education and entrepreneurship. So we mustn't ignore that exists. But the key thing is, how do we tie this up? How do we align it? And how do we ensure that it becomes practical in today's world? So that is the connection that I'll make between the education or my experience in school and my experience being an entrepreneur and so on. Then the other question you asked was about Sloan. I don't know, should I talk about that or this is okay now?
I think the crowd is going to get to know the panelists first, and then we can dive into your individual products. One of the things I want to say to my panelists is that you're being very chivalrous by looking over to me, by saying, graciously connecting eye contact, but don't you worry about looking at me because I need you in that mic so that your crowd can hear every delicious item you want to tell the audience. So thank you for being a gentleman, but you don't have to look at me while you answer.
Because you're so pretty and it's your birthday.
I'll take the compliment. Thank you very much. Dr. Shalaby, earlier today you mentioned to me, I'm still the same guy that I was in college. And so tell us a little bit more about what brought you to this topic and how it relates to what you do today. Oh, are you passing your billet?
No. I'm saying Ahmed brought me to this topic. So first of all, I'm glad to be here with you guys. My name is Ahmed Shalabi. I have 25 years of experience. I am an architect. I studied architecture at Cairo University. I got a master's degree from Cairo University in urban design and PhD in a joint supervision program between Cairo University and Cornell University in city and regional planning. And I am a professor of architecture and urban development at Cairo University. That's part of my identity. The other part is that I am practicing architecture, urban development, and real estate development. I spent half of my career in consultancy, in architecture and urban development, and the other half in managing real estate companies and creating new developments. So this is why it's difficult to me to think about this question, because I'm still engaged with the students as a professor. I studied architecture, and during my time, I think what were missed is the interaction between the college practice and the real life practice. This is really missed. And it is still missed up till now. I'm trying right now personally as a professor and practitioner is to bridge that gap, and even I'm becoming like a little bit popular between my colleagues at Cairo University that I'm doing the two things. So whenever there is a problem related to applications, I'm engaged in that problem. So I think the thing that we need really is how to get the students more engaged in real life problems and real life issues. I have been introduced to the entrepreneurship world 4 years ago by my friend here, Ahmed Osman. He was heading Gen Egypt, and he came to me at that time and asked me as Tatweer Misr to be the main sponsor for Gen Egypt. And we did that 4 years ago. At that time, we were 1 year old company. We were a startup, and we just started 1 year earlier. So since then, I learned a lot about entrepreneurship, and I figured out that we ourselves as Tatweer Misr, we are entrepreneurs. We started from scratch. We started with new ideas and new innovations. So I think back to your question, again, it's the connection between real life applications and university practices. This is really important, and we need to find a way to make it easier for the students. It doesn't mean just internships or just trainings in summer. I think it means more than that, more interaction during the main academic year, more classes that are focused on this kind of interaction. Maybe we can introduce real life projects to the students through private companies and ask them to be part of it. I don't know, but we are doing a lot with Bloomfields, and then I think this is a topic that we will talk about later. Thank you.
I love it. Thank you so much. Ahmed, last night you won a very big award.
Yes.
It was Gen Egypt, big awards. It took a long time to get to that award, but you have had a really tremendous path. Please tell us what was missing on your college campus that could have gotten you to that award even faster.
Okay, so what was missing in my college class was I missed a lot of classes. So I did engineering. I studied in the UK, and then I did a master's in engineering and management, and then I worked in engineering. And then suddenly I found myself doing things related to entrepreneurship. And I don't know why this happened. You know, it was a friend who told me, oh, there's this GW. We can organize it in Egypt, and we can do great things for young Egyptians. So I said, yeah, why not? Let's do it. So I've been doing this since 2008, yeah. And then we started Gen Egypt in 2017 when Gen decided to have Gen country presence. And what was really interesting was everyone was saying the word ecosystem. And I didn't know what ecosystem meant, to be very honest. And lots of people still are wondering what it means. So when we mapped out the Egyptian ecosystem, there were lots of players doing lots of things in the entrepreneurship domain, which is great. So as an engineer, I always relate things to physical spaces. So I like this room because it's a box, so you can define what things happen. So I always had this dream to have this space which does things for entrepreneurs. And hence, this is what we're trying to do.
I love it. We're to the point. So we've talked a little macro about what this topic means to you. And now I want to go to some physical spaces that we're already looking at. And Kizito brought this to all of your attention, but the building you're looking at behind us actually was imagined and inspired by a global entrepreneurship congress just like this. So can you imagine if we leave here today and someone decides that Bahrain is the next place that they need to build a campus like this? Kizito, give us some insight. Tell us what's working, what's happening, 22 on Sloan. How did it go from GEC mindshare to cement?
I think one thing I must give credit to was the team that we put together for the GEC. So for the GEC, we brought private and public sector together, and we formed what we call an LOC, a local organizing committee. And this involves some private sector, civic society, and public sector. And we put them in groups. We had a content group, we had a marketing group, we had a logistics group, we had other groups also. And one thing we tasked them with is to develop a concept note of what we wanted to achieve out of GEC. Because from my side, my biggest aim whenever I do something is to think what happens next. So I'm already thinking, if I'm here, if I'm coming to GEC in Bahrain, I'm thinking what happens next post that. And I think that was the inspiration we gave to each team member or each group. And then they developed a concept note. And one of the things that came out is we have so much challenges within our ecosystem. What will be our legacy project? And one of the legacy project people thought of was this. Some people were talking about the fund. There was a fund that is still in the pipeline that we're about to launch pretty soon. So there were so many things in the pipeline. And this was one of it. And we ended up launching it around 8 months after the GEC in March 2017. And I must say it was a tough task because we had some funds that private public sector contributed. And then we had around maybe $500,000-$600,000 left from that fund. But also from the company that I was running, which was Sea Africa, we had a bit of fund. So we combined these two funds together. So we put in around $1 million. So I think we contributed around 300. And then from the GEC money left was around 600. So then we decided to build something. It was existing building. We just redid it. And it's still there. So we're still trying to finally secure it and own it. So it's not owned by us, but we've put in money to own it. We've put in around $300,000 already to own the building. The building costs around $5 million or so, or $6 million, something like that. So we are still in the process of owning it. But then what we've done is just bring the ecosystem of entrepreneurs together. We had some private sector there. We signed an agreement with a bank that brought in their digital team there. So around 50 team members from APSA were there the whole of last year, building their products and so on. We've also attracted startups, so we have over 100 startups based there. We still have capacity to do up to 400 startups. We have private offices, around 32 of them, and they're all taken, they're all fully booked. One thing we're now trying to build is a game hub there, which is around 1,000 square meter. We're hoping to launch it sometime this year. We're hoping to commercialize and get people playing games like your esports, hyper casual games, and so on and so on. So we have so many things that we've put together. We have a tech lab at the campus. We have a kids room, babies, so you can go pick up your kid, bring them there and keep them there while you're going to work. We have a gym facility. We have a shower facility. We have adults playroom also where they can play table tennis, pool tennis. So there's so many things that we've done. We're just trying to create an environment where the startups can be, where they can work from, and where they can get inspired, but also where they can meet like and unlike-minded people that they can possibly collaborate with. Another thing we did very well was location. We ensured that it's sitting in the middle of the business district, which is Santon. and it's closer to the freeway. We also planning to put up a rooftop restaurant that is going to attract various people that are not even part of the Sloan system. So we've done a lot of things, and there's so many other things in the pipeline. We've also faced challenges, and I must mention that. Some of the challenges we faced include some funding, which is something we're still busy negotiating with various partners to ensure, because sustainability is one of the things we want to make sure that the campus is, and so on, you know. So I'll stop there and give them a chance, and then I'll continue. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, it's clear to everyone in the room who hears Kizito talk that he understands his ecosystem very well. He also is adapting and designing for that ecosystem. And so I want to jump to Ahmed Osman. We're going to go north from South Africa, and we're going to come hang out in Egypt for a minute. And so you've seen what Kizito was able to do with this GEC Conversation Meets ecosystem. Tell us about the Egyptian ecosystem that you're working in, and I, of course, do have some multimedia for you to share, but I want you to set the room and give everyone a little bit of insight into why Egypt, why right now, and why a startup campus.
Okay, so why Egypt? Because we've been there for a long time, so 7,000 years, I guess. And we're 100 million people, and entrepreneurship is, I think, a necessity in a way. So that's number one. Number two is the timing now is right, because there's some reform happening in certain areas of legislation, policy, etc. I think we have a very young population, 60% under the age of 35, so there are good potential for the future. The education system in Egypt requires a lot of reform, the public or even actually the private currently. So the legislation has changed to allow good international schools or universities to come and establish what they call international branch campuses. The second thing is the ecosystem in Egypt is thriving, where we have very good startups coming out of Egypt. We have startups who have gone all the way to Silicon Valley and made it, who've raised funds from different VCs globally. We have major events happening in Egypt. We have the biggest event in Africa called Rise Up, which happens every year, and it's a great success. We're doing a lot of things to support entrepreneurs, and I think just looking at what happened in South Africa when this 22 and Sloan opened, I said, wow, this is a great thing, because it's bringing everyone together. You know, we're all here together yesterday and today, and you can see the interaction when people are in this setup. It works. So I guess once we have Janet Bloomfields, we'll have the same ecosystem clicking.
And I want to give the audience a chance just to set the stage a little bit further as to what exactly is happening on campus. And I want to make sure our team, if there is the ability for our multimedia to play, here we are.
Yeah, this is what we do at Gen Egypt.
بدأت نشاطها في مصر من 11 سنة. تركيزنا دايما على إلهام وتحفيز الشباب اللي عندهم أفكار واعدة لمشروعات جديدة، بس مش عارفين يبدأوا منين وإزاي. طول المدة دي كانت جن مصر وما زالت مصدر دعم قوي لكتير من الشباب الطموح بأشكال كتيرة تضمن بداية قوية لأي مشروع. أوجه الدعم اللي بتقدمها جن بتشمل التوجيه والتدريب وتوفير الدراسات ذات الصلة وإتاحة التواصل مع رواد الأعمال والباحثين في العالم ومؤسسات دعم ريادة الأعمال وإطلاق مسابقات للأفكار المبتكرة والمشروعات الناشئة. وبفضل خبرتنا الممتدة في 170 دولة ساعدنا بالفعل كتير من أصحاب الأفكار المبتكرة على إنهم يترجموا أحلامهم لواقع في مجالات الحياة، وده لأن هدفنا في النهاية تشجيع بناء اقتصاد متنوع ومستدام. من أهم مشاريع وفعاليات جن مصر مسابقة نواة، مسابقة دعم أصحاب الأفكار والمشروعات الناشئة للفوز بجوائز مالية وتدريب أثناء وبعد المسابقة علشان ينفذوا أفكارهم أو يطوروا مشاريعهم، وده بالتعاون مع شركاء دوليين ومحليين، وتعتبر النهارده واحدة من أهم فعاليات ريادة الأعمال في مصر وبتساهم في تطوير نظام ريادة الأعمال بالكامل. ستارت اب هذا تجمع الشركات الناشئة عبارة عن برنامج شهري مجاني بيقدم فرصة تعلم عملية لرواد الأعمال. بنجمع في الفعالية دي عدد من مؤسسي الشركات، وكل مؤسس لشركة بيعرض قصة شركته للحضور، وبيتبع كل عرض جلسة أسئلة وأجوبة وتعليقات مدتها 20 دقيقة. دي جي برينيوير هي مسابقة لريادة الأعمال الرقمية لكل اللي عندهم فكرة مبتكرة في المجال الرقمي. وقدمت مسابقة دي جي برينيوير 2017 فرصة للتدريب لأصحاب المشاريع لإطلاق أعمالهم بنجاح والفوز بالدعم المالي والتوجيه والتدريب، وغيرهم من مشاريع وفعاليات تانية بنشتغل عليها طول السنة. أما من أهم مشاريعنا هو الأسبوع العالمي لريادة الأعمال GEW خلال شهر نوفمبر من كل سنة بيقام الأسبوع العالمي لريادة الأعمال في مصر وفي عدد كبير من الدول حول العالم، والسنة دي هي السنة ال11 للأسبوع ده، وهو أسبوع بيجمع كل المهتمين بمجال ريادة الأعمال في العالم كله، وبيتم خلاله عمل مجموعة من الفعاليات والأنشطة والمحاضرات وورش العمل المختلفة اللي بتقوم بيها جان مصر وشركائها اللي بيمثلوا مؤسسات وكيانات مختلفة بتدعم ريادة الأعمال. وبيحتفي الأسبوع السنة دي ب4 مواضيع مختلفة هي المرأة والشباب والدمج والتواصل. علشان تعرف أكتر عن جان مصر أو عن الأسبوع العالمي لريادة الأعمال تقدر تتابعنا على facebook.com/janegypt أو twitter.com/janegypt أو على موقعنا www.janegypt.com. ما تنساش دايما تستخدم الهاشتاجز دي علشان تفضل على تواصل بكل اللي بيحصل خلال الأسبوع في مصر والعالم. #GEW 2018 #GEWEgypt.
So you can see from the work that they did last year that this is, and across all of the years, that this ecosystem is thriving. And had I seen that at the Bloomfields or at the Tatchweer offices, I probably too would have opened up my checkbook and started writing some checks. But now let's go to a deeper conversation about what we're all here to say is, how do we build this from the ground up? And part of the excitement about why we have Dr. Shalaby here with us is you are still connected to students, you are dreaming big. Tell us about Jen at Bloomfields and let me know what it is that when you would like me to switch, because we have so much multimedia for you, but please.
So just to start, let me explain what is Tatweer Misr and what is Bloomfields. Tatweer Misr is a real estate development company, but we are specialized in mega urban development. So currently we are working on 5 million square meter of land. We are developing 5 million square meter of land in 3 different projects. One of these projects is Bloomfields. The idea started like 3 years ago that we need to develop a mega urban development first home destination in the outskirts of Cairo. That was the idea, but we thought we are going to one of the expansions of Cairo, one of the new cities, which is New Cairo, and in order to be successful, we need to have an economic base as a hub for this new development. At that time, we decided that we need to do a university and K-12 schools are the main attraction point to drag people to come and live in one place. At that time, we started a kind of discussion, what kind of university? We need to establish an international branch campus, but what we do with it? Through discussions with friends, especially Ahmed Osman here, we decided together that it's a must to focus on entrepreneurship. Because what Ahmed said, that we are 100 million people in Egypt, 70% of them under the age of 35, 50% under the age of 25. We are a huge young population. And this young population needs to be taught and need to learn that they are destined to be job creators, not job seekers. So we decided at that time that the main theme of the university will be entrepreneurship. And from here, it came the idea of Jen at Bloomfields. Because if we're gonna bring international branch campus for international universities with different disciplines, but with main focus in entrepreneurship, we need something in the heart of this to reflect the entrepreneurial spirit. And Jen at Bloomfields and Jen, the Global Entrepreneurship Network, is the perfect match for what we are doing. So we decided to have Jen at the hub for all our dreams. So Bloomfields is a college town concept where we have entrepreneurial spirit coming out from the Jen at Bloomfields, from the university hub, going to the office building, the retails, the hotels, the hospital, the residential components, all the components in the development. And from here, the story started. And I think we can show now the first video about where Bloomfields is.
Perfect. If you're not inspired by that, just wait until you see some of this incredible designs that are coming up and the location as to where it is. If we could, there we are. So we are traveling to Egypt.
So we have 3 videos. The first one showed the Bloomfields location. It is in the eastern side of Cairo, in New Cairo, and adjacent to the new administrative capital. By the way, this area is supposed to accommodate about 10 million people in the coming 10 to 15 years. And the target here is not just Egypt. The target is Africa, North Africa, Middle East, to bring students from all the surrounding area.
I think we have one more video.
One more video and
for
then
tech
the
to play.
groundbreaking. Yeah.
Perfect.
Bloomfields is a mixed-use
That's me,
residential
by the way.
compound built with a view to sustainability. In master planning Bloomfields, we recognize the necessity of incorporating the economic foundation that will ensure our project becomes a young, thriving community. The remarkable value offered by Bloomfields provide more than unique design and construction. Its 90-acre educational district will host an entrepreneurial university, 3 international schools, and the first global entrepreneurship network operated hub for innovation and entrepreneurship in the MENA region. It also offers a range of office spaces integrated with different retail and food and beverage concepts. Using a smart growth approach, the project is developed with high-density areas surrounding the college town, where the university and schools are located to become vibrant centers of activity, and it's complemented by low-density areas destined for residential use with all the aspects necessary.
Dr. Shalaby, I can attest to the fact that while we are an inspiring group, what you just displayed, good design, is in this day and age the thing that people go, oh, my phone, I have to. And I loved seeing everyone want to and share with that moment with us, because we are so excited about what this project's going to look like.
And this is the groundbreaking. It was last November inside, in the place where we're gonna have Jen at Bloomfield. And it's a desert area now, but this is part of the game. I can tell you that we are now enjoying the dream. We are enjoying that we are thinking about what Jen at Bloomfield should look like. And this is why we are here today, and this will be the next part. But this, you can show the video if
Great, we're going to flow through some slides too as well, if you want to keep talking about some of your vision about the major campus.
So the idea that we are starting this from scratch, and we are thinking about it as a college town concept with Jen at the heart of it. So we need to get the ideas of young generations, young students, what they want this to look like in 2-3 years from now, in 10 years from now. I think we need to think about an organic idea that could grow over time, or maybe becoming something different over time from inside. This is what I like about the place here. The building is, as Ahmed said, is just a cube. But what Jen did inside the building is amazing. So you are changing. Can we come up with an idea, architectural idea, to have something changeable inside our building, Jen at Bloomfield? So this is an enjoyment journey that we are enjoying together. Our team, Tatweer Misr, Jen Egypt, and Jen Global. I think we are enjoying this moment and trying to create something different and something unique.
And I think we have the video ready to go for the groundbreaking, just to see exactly what this looks like in person today.
وضع حجر أساس أول مركز إقليمي لريادة الأعمال في مصر والشرق الأوسط وشمال أفريقيا. Speaking a lot by Jen.
إن أنا أكون هنا شاهد على وضع حجر الأساس لمنظومة متكاملة. مش عايزة أقول إن هو مركز إقليمي فقط، ولكن منظومة متكاملة مقدما وإن شاء الله فعلا قريب مننا.
Thank you for having me here today. I'm so proud to be here. So proud of our new partners, and so proud to have the opportunity, Minister, to work with you going forward. But particularly proud to have the opportunity to meet many of you.
التعاون اللي احنا بصدده النهارده لما يبدا المشروع يبقى فيه اكاديميه متخصصه وملاهي متخصصه النهارده ما تساعد رواد الاعمال ان هم يبقوا متواجدين.
Well, I think that absolutely that deserves the round of applause. So I think that that video clearly illustrates the fact that public and private are at the table for this project as well. And Ahmed Osman already told us that the government actually changed the law in order for this kind of innovation and creativity to even flourish. So we do want to recognize the fact that you, as the private sector partner to this, also helped innovate on regulation that was already changed in your country, and what an opportunity this is. So I want to offer an opportunity to welcome up a special guest who might or may not be a little frustrated with me that I'm putting him on the spot, but he's a tremendous architect, and he is full of youthful, fun, progressive, great ideas. And I want to bring him up. His name is Harry Ortmans, and he is responsible for this fantastic design. And Harry, I'm going to let you sit here, and I want you to introduce us to what you believe should Janet Bloomfield should look like, and then I'm going to let you play your multimedia, and then we're going to follow up with, oh, there you go. We already have a mic for you. Perfect. So Harry, I'll let you take it away. You're probably so inspired by what Dr. Shalaby just said, just like all of us. Please let us know, what do you think Janet Bloomfield should look like?
Well, I think what was important, the word hub was very key, and we looked at it. It needed to be a place where you could come and meet, work, learn, and create. And I think a certain aspect of the design that I looked at the beginning was the compass, the ring, the circle. It encourages collaboration and spontaneous meetings, and as long as you've got places along that route that people can stop and have those conversations, you encourage much more of that collaboration. There's no corner offices, everyone's on a level playing field, there's no one's tucked away. And I think what we've included as well, you have co-working spaces, so no one has a fixed desk. You're in and about, you're meeting people, you're sitting next to someone different every day, and I think that's key to have those moments.
That feels a lot like the Gen community, that you're never talking to the same person twice at the Global Entrepreneurship Congress, and that's the beauty of it, right?
Yeah, and we've included, again, same as Sloan 22, we've included a restaurant on the top that can encourage other people who aren't necessarily part of the ecosystem yet to come and enjoy the space as well. And maybe they'll be inspired when they visit and want to be a part of the ecosystem.
I want to highlight that nice innovative moment that we drew on some of the feedback that we've already heard from Kizito about some of the things he's learning at other Gen campuses. But without further ado, I'd love to welcome everyone inside your design. Is that allowed?
Come on in. So the zigzags on the side, by the way, quickly, for shading. It's obviously very hot in Cairo, so to reduce any kind of excessive solar gain was key.
I like what you said about no corner offices. Kizito, as you look at this, one of the things that you highlighted in some of our first conversations was about the ability to convene and the power to convene in your community. Can you tell us a little about your event space and potentially even the parking?
Yeah. So one thing we did was we have an atrium, which is, so whenever you go around the building, you're still forced to come through the atrium. And the atrium is like a meeting place. It can accommodate around 300 people for an event. So we do our hackathons there. And also it's open on the top, so you can get fresh air from outside inside the atrium. So it's an open closed area. And we noticed that some startups, even though when they're sitting in the open plan space and so on, sometimes they want to get out of there and go to the atrium and just work from there. So that is something we've done there. But also another important aspect is a lot of the hubs, I think even in South Africa or even in Africa, even in US and so on, you'll notice a lot of the hubs, parking spaces are an issue. And one thing we've done is we made sure that 22 on Sloan had enough parking space. So we have around 180 parking bays. It gives startups the opportunity to bring their cars whenever and leave later without worrying about public transportation and so on. So that is something we've we've done. I think something that Harry mentioned, which is also important, and I think we'll borrow this, is that we want one thing we also gonna be doing maybe pretty soon is when you're walking around the building, you can just stop on the balcony or on the hallway with someone and just share ideas and write it on the wall and clean it up again and so on. So we want to create those kind of collaborative hallways and where people just meet each other along the way and just chat and write it on the wall and clean it up. So it's something I think we'll also implement at some stage.
I'm flipping through some of these creative designs that Harry's been pushing into this mix. And I think that it's really fantastic that he brought in the element on the external piece and face, because ecosystem doesn't just refer to the entrepreneurship ecosystem. As when you come to Egypt, you're also talking about the physical ecosystem that you're in and the environmental. So understanding resources and energy sources and things that we can be innovative on for the future. This is what I think Harry and all of us in the room are dreaming of, to create spaces that not only inspire you to change the office that you're in, but to change the world that you're living in. And I stop at this slide because this is one of the ones that, that we've already touched on here. But I think that it's important for us to recognize the fact that Kizito, 22 on Sloan, when you were imagining 22 on Sloan, did you ever imagine that there would be tourists that were interested in coming into your building? And is this kind of the next wave of what we're imagining? Is there entrepreneur tourism happening?
Yeah, so one of the things we also did before we launched Sloan is we traveled a bit and checked out what was happening around the world. I know one of the places I visited was Station F in France. And we kind of picked up one or two ideas also from there. But also one thing we're picking up now is almost every week there are visitors coming to Sloan, either from the US or from Kenya or from various parts of the world. Even next 2 weeks or so, we're hosting some students, MBA students from university in DC also. So it's around 20 of them coming to Sloan. So we always receive visitors. We have also startups from Nigeria. They come in, they stay for a week and go back to their countries and so on. So now we're experiencing that entrepreneurship tourism. And I think there is a big opportunity for that. And we just have to encourage it more and create more spaces for them. It's just sometimes when we receive these requests, we see that we're receiving it almost every day, and we're like, we can't cope. Let's tell them we're not available. But also we're trying as much as possible to because also it takes you need a team to really run this, right? And the team also its resources, it affects your salaries, all those things. You know the story. But so how do we balance all this to ensure that even though we want to attract the community we want to attract, we don't end up having a big overheads and so on at the end of every month and so on. But entrepreneurship tourism, something definitely on the rise. We receive visitors almost every week, and we receive requests almost every day of people that want to come to Sloan. We even have ambassadors also, local ambassadors in South Africa wanting to visit, talk about what we're doing, see what collaboration we can have with their countries where, back home and so on. So there's a rise in that. Yeah?
Dr. Shelby, I expect that at some point we're all going to be having lunch up at your rooftop restaurant. But tell us a bit about how you feel about that kind of reaction. Is that what your dreams are for Bloomfields? Are you hoping that will be the model city in the Middle East that kind of brings people together like this? Tell us the aspirational big picture. We love it.
Okay. So first, this cafe on rooftop will be our perfect spot for gatherings. So we'll see you all there. I think first of all, I love the design. I love the circle. I love that it expresses Gen identity. I love that about the design. I look forward to have more flexible, interactive design. So I think these are two keywords that we need to achieve in this building, to be flexible as much as we can and to be interactive as much as we can. I think what we are developing together here with the Gen at Bloomfields, with the campus, the entrepreneurship campus, with Bloomfields concept, I think through our discussions today with Jonathan and with the team, we are developing something unique in the world. And I think at one point, this model could be replicated in different places in the world. I think this is a new way of thinking about entrepreneurship and how to get entrepreneurship to affect the lives of as many people as we can. That's it.
Dr. Shalaby, I would be remiss if I didn't give the audience an opportunity to find out more about how they can be a part of the Bloomfields community, whether that's a partner with Gen Egypt that's doing programming at Gen at Bloomfields, or whether that's a university representative in the audience that's interested in somehow having their campus be affiliated somehow with this exciting new project. Do you have any recommendations for what the audience can do to get more involved?
No, actually, we have our colleague Dalia here, Dalia Sharif. She is the Chief Business Officer at Tatweer Misr, and she is heading this project. So Dalia have all the resources that are related to this project, and she is the one in contact with many American universities. We actually signed the first university, NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology. We signed with them to bring them to Egypt and to open their branch campus in Egypt, and we are talking with many other universities, and Dalia is heading the discussions and the agreements, and she is the one to get in touch if you need anything related to Bloomfields and Gen at Bloomfields.
I love it. So we are technically out of time for the experts to be here talking about these exciting new foundational topics. What is really amazing about how this all came to be is that you can actually follow the thread of innovation through all of these different convenings that we've had and through the relationships that were built on your own college campuses way back when, and are now coming to fruition when you are becoming the professional version of that architecture student that you wanted to become, or innovating around the ecosystem that you knew very well in order to deliver the product that they were looking for. Now, Harry has already been recruited into the brain power of how to design this campus, but what I'm going to do in the next session is actually get you all out of your seats and get you really uncomfortable and make you talk to each other and experiment together. But before we do that, I want to say thank you to Dr. Shalaby and to Ahmed Osman and to Gazito. And of course, Ahmed, please
I just
close
want
us out.
one thing. When we think of this building, it's supposed to open in a couple of years or so. So I think we should be looking at the future in a way. So the future, I don't know how it will look like, in terms of energy, in terms of how spaces are being created. Do we get this? I'm seeing lots of videos of buildings which open and close, which disappear underground. All this. We need to really embrace the future, because when we think of 10-year-olds and 11-year-olds using this building in 10, 15 years, I don't think they'll need the typical building we're using now. I don't know how it will look like, but we need to be a bit forward-thinking.
So we need a drone helicopter landing where you can drop off the people instead of parking spaces,
That's
right?
my comment. Keep the economic aspects into place, please, guys. We are paying at the end.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for all of your input, and we look forward to the next part of this session where we're going to be giving you all of these ideas that this beautiful design work has inspired in their audience. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll let you off. Yes, of course, of course.
Good luck. Look forward to good and looking forward.
Wow. We need to meet and it's crazy to identify that as well.
Thank you very much. Told your father for his proud son.
And I think we need to we go a bit way back historically. Our family were both in England. So there's that connection.
Okay. So while the room is mingling with our experts, I want everyone to know that we are going to be dividing up into a few groups of creatives, and we're going to be working on a couple of ideas that we can send back with Dr. Shalby for how to create the Janet Bloomfield's campus. So if you will be gracious for me, I will hit some post-it notes in your hand as well as some worksheets, and we'll be working through a little quick design thinking workshop. Anyone stick through? Okay, before we depart, I want to capture some of this input that you have for Dr. Shalby and the Bloomfields project. So in your hand, you have either a yellow or a green sheet, a worksheet. If I can ask everyone who has a yellow worksheet to come sit on this side of the room, we're going to have a quick little design thinking workshop where we're going to write down some of these ideas and some of these concepts that we would like to see at the Janet Bloomfield side. If you are on the green, please go to the left side, and we're going to use both of these walls to get a little bit creative and a little funky with how we decide to work it through. The design thinking process is a revolutionary approach to problem solving and particularly to human design. And this is a system that many different professionals use around the world to innovate in their industries. A few ground rules about how to respect your colleagues in this. Defer judgment, encourage wild ideas, build on the ideas of others, stay focused on the topic, one conversation at a time, be visual, and go for quantity, filter for quality later. These are principles that we should apply to every single conversation we have here at the GEC. For today, for designing a startup campus, we're going to be talking about empathy, and empathy maps is a great way for us to think about what the current status is in our life, so what universities look like today, And then the desired state, what are we going to be doing for those future students of the next generation and beyond? So first, for today, to go through really quickly what these phases will look like, we're going to talk about first, what were you missing on your college campus that could have innovated or could have brought you to your innovation or brought you to your entrepreneurship potential earlier in life? So right off the bat, if you could think about what your experience was in college, what are the types of comments or things that you thought on campus that you were missing? Was it a laboratory where you could have been doing experiments on food products? Was it a class on taxes? Or was it access to the alumni that would have gotten you global much faster with a great idea that you had? What was it? What were you missing on campus? And how can we innovate on that now? So that's question number 1 and phase 1. And so if you want to participate, we're going to be using these Post-it notes to write down a few of these ideas. If you have 1, if you had 10, if you have 4, put them down and give us a few minutes to actually select those ideas. And as soon as you're done with your idea, go stick it on the wall. Yellow, go put it here. Green, put it over there. 2-minute warning. Okay, 1-minute warning. Anything else that you were missing on your college campus while you were in school? And as soon as you're done with the ideas, slap them on the wall. I still see people scribbling, so I'm going to give you 1 or 2 more minutes before you get to judge. And that's always fun. Feedback is the way we make things better. Okay, so I can tell that We are getting some good ideas on both sides, and what I'm going to do is actually, since we're a little more intimate of a group, I'm actually going to bring those over. But in the meantime, I'd love everyone to stand up with your pen. Come on over to this wall, and I'm going to bring over those. And I want you to just take a look. Don't do anything yet, but just read all of the Post-it notes that are on the wall. And we're going to take a second to just evaluate what just came out of our minds after seeing all of that great design work. than there are, I think, over there. You guys are more aspirational for the future than we were for our own college days, eh? Me too. Okay, one more minute. Close on up on your last thought, and then we're going to go over, we're going to judge, and then we're going to do the same thing we did, and finally present to Dahlia around the horn what we think she should do at Jen at Bloomfield's, because she's fine. We've got some ideas back there about what went wrong, Dahlia, but I think we've got some good ideas about what's going to go right. Perfect. We have 8 minutes left until they kick us out of this room. So, let's go judge. Let's go see what fits.